All right, we're at 3 p.m. So I want to say thanks for everybody who is here and who has shown up. We are, it's been so lonely. So it's so nice to have you all with me. We have a ton of stuff to cover. Nancy is here with me. Nancy, you want to unmute yourself and say hello or wave?
Hello, everyone.
Okay, great. So Nancy's with me, and Nancy is going to be managing the, she's wonderful. She's my wonderful executive assistant. She's going to be managing any problems that you have, but she placed in the chat, if you see, some instructions about how we're going forward today in terms of housekeeping. So let me give you a couple of things that we're going to be doing. First of all, we're recording, so you should all see that in the corner of your screen. Secondly, you're on mute, as we said. Third, I want you to save your questions until I give you the go-ahead, which is probably not going to be until the end. I figure we're going to be on this call for at least an hour, about an hour, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But what I do want to promise you is that I'll stick around maybe at least another 30 minutes, beyond an hour, to answer any questions that you may have. So, yes, so everybody's video has to be muted. So I'm saying it again. And Nancy, why don't you mute yourself as well at this point? Thank you so much. All right. Oof. Got a lot going on here. Okay, so why are we doing this today? We're doing it because everybody needs to be online and it needs to be on video conference. And that has just been an overnight thing. It's been absolutely crazy. I'm sure we all agree. So what I want to do today is to talk to you about how you can use this not only to communicate with your clients and your customers, but your teams, your leadership, and certainly you can also use these formats for training, which is, I've been doing this for 10 years, and you're going to see a still from a video I shot literally in 2009. I'm going to use it as a demo, so just to show you something. But what we're going to do is put this into 3 different sections. So the sections are going to be the equipment, what you need, what you need to get going with this, to make it happen. Interestingly, you probably already have everything that you need. And then second, we're going to talk about how you deliver, what you look like, how you present yourself on camera. It's a really different experience than presenting yourself in person, right? So we'll talk about that and many of the techniques and tools that I've used and I learned from that. And then at the end, the last section, in the 3rd section, will be about some of the platforms that we use, including the one I'm using today, Zoom, and which, interestingly, and to my chagrin, I had to learn something about today, about 3 hours ago. So again, thank you for coming. Glad to have you here. And we're going to get started now. So, oh, one more thing. Watch me. Watch what I do as I present to you. And think about how you feel when I'm presenting. So do you feel like I know you're there? Do you feel like I look okay? Do I look professional? Does everything sort of fit together? Does it seem distracting in any way? Is there anything that I'm doing that works for you, or that you think is useful or helpful, or that you think maybe should change or wouldn't work for you personally? So we're going to talk about all of that, but a lot of the stuff that you'll learn is just simply by watching me model some on-camera video presenting. So I'm going to switch on over to the slides now. If you just bear with me for a minute, we'll get that going. So. Let's see. Okay, here we are. Got this on. So I hope everybody can see it, the slide. Thank you for being here again. Fearless Video Presenting. Let's get going. So we're going to start with equipment. So here's the equipment that you'll need. You just need your laptop or a desktop with a webcam or a phone or a tablet. Almost all the platforms have are adaptable now to phone and tablet use. So the iOS for the iPhone and the other formats for the whatever that's called, the other phone. Sorry, I'm just an Apple person. So the Samsung or the Galaxy, those other types of phones, the other operating system, almost all of them will accommodate your online video. So laptop or desktop, most of these laptops and desktop these days, all the Apples have come with webcams for the last several years. PCs, some of them still don't have webcams, very few of them, but some still don't have webcams. So I want you to know that in advance, and that you've already got most of the equipment, if not all of it, that you need. You may need an external microphone, maybe, okay? Now, all of these, if they come with a webcam, they automatically have a microphone, so an internal mic. And that might be good enough if you're on the road, if you're not in your home, if you're out and you don't want to drag additional equipment with you, your microphone for your laptop or your desktop or your device should be enough. Okay, so you might need an external microphone. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And then lights. We'll talk about lighting. You know, you can't, unfortunately, video doesn't do well in the dark or with poor lighting conditions. You end up with grainy video or no video, and it just becomes hard to watch. You know, there's a saying in the video field where poor video is worse than no video. So let's just keep that in mind as we move forward in this. By the way, I'm going to be looking at my notes as we go through this. I want to stay on track. We've got a lot to cover. All right, so let's keep going. So here are some icons, right? Some items that you need. So you need a webcam, a phone or a tablet, and a window in terms of the lighting. Okay, so let's talk about that. I just gave you a little bit of information about your webcam. Now, if you look at that image of the Logitech webcam, the people who don't have automatic webcams in their computers can always buy one of these. These are so good and they're really inexpensive. They're high definition. They've gotten better and better with time, and they usually work so easily. You just plug them in and they pick it up. They work beautifully. And of course, we've got the phone image there, and I also want to include in this the tablet, which I don't have an image for at the moment. Now, the reason that I have a window is because when you're using your webcam, one of the most important things that you can do is to be well lit, as I mentioned, and a window is the greatest lighting you will have. So what a window does, of course, is let daylight in, provided it's daylight, provided it's not dark. And of course, we're changing seasons now, and daylight savings time, we just instituted that a couple of weeks ago. So know that if you place your webcam, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, in front of a window, that doesn't mean that the window is there. It means that the window is behind your computer and it's shedding light on you. You will be very well lit. So that's what I would advise. You know, if I wasn't in a room, I'm in a room that is very bright, even on a cloudy day, which it is today, it's got incredible light. Daylight comes in beautifully, but I also have an artificial light on me because I wanted the light to be consistent. And we'll talk about the artificial lighting in a minute. Again, you probably still have a lot of that right at your beck and call, right? At your fingertips. So as you're deciding where to do video conferencing or make video calls, make sure that you are well lit. Know that you might have to move a table or whatever you've got in your home or wherever it is that you're able to work these days, right in front of a window. Again, the window isn't behind you. What will happen if it's behind you is you'll be silhouetted, meaning you will be darkened, because unfortunately these webcams, and that's true of all of the devices I mentioned, the webcams on them, unless you get additional software and want to fool around with that, which I certainly don't, they're automatic. They actually detect the light that's coming in and they adjust to the brightest light, which means the window is going to be, they'll adjust for the bright light coming in through the window and not you. So just want to get that out there and be clear about that. And we can answer any questions that you want at all when we get to Q&A time. All right, let's move on to microphones. Now, these USB mics are going to make your voice sound better. As I mentioned earlier, if you're not in the habit of using equipment or you don't want to drag equipment around with you, you're on the road, you're doing video conferences from a variety of different places, then you don't need this. It's not a vital must-have thing. But I can tell you that these mics will make your voice sound much better. It'll make it sound richer, deeper. There won't be so much echo in the room. There won't be it won't be a situation where you have a limited amount of bandwidth. You can turn these mics up. You can change how they receive your voice. Usually when you plug them into the USB on your devices or however you do it, if you've got, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. On computers, there's certainly USB ports for these. And depending on the device you have, you may need an adapter. But the other thing is that it will automatically be detected. Sometimes you have to choose it. You go to the audio and you think like, what do I have to choose here? But what do I have to select? But in general, it will be automatically activated. And so that's what works for me. So let me tell you a little bit about each of these. The Audio-Technica, I have the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB, not the USB Plus. I don't have that one. That came out after I bought my earlier one. I've had this microphone for years now. It is an excellent mic. I think you can hear the sound of my voice. It sounds good. It sounds rich. You can hear me. I'm clear. And then, so I just checked it. It looks like it's about $150 right now online. I looked on Amazon. I think that's where I got it. But there are a million different choices for you to buy these kinds of things. Another supplier is called B&H. It's a big supplier of audio, video, photography equipment in New York City. But they have a tremendous online store, so I would shop around for these types for this type of equipment. The other mic, which is the Yeti by a company known as Blue, is a very well-known mic. It's looked like it was retailing, I think I saw it yesterday, priced at about $120. But again, shop around. People love it. The brand is very popular. I'm going to tell you that before I settled on my Logitech, I had bought the Blue microphone and I wasn't happy with the sound. I'm an expert in this kind of thing. Before I was doing this, 29 years ago, I was a performing artist. I was a jingle singer and an announcer in New York City. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about the sound of the voice and what is good sound and what is not great sound. So that was my experience. A lot of people are thrilled with this microphone. So check it out, try it out. I don't get any kinds of commissions if you buy one of these microphones. But again, these are terrific mics. I know for sure the Audio-Technica is a terrific mic. There are plenty of other brands of mic. Shure, S-H-U-R-E, is a really well-known brand. Oh my gosh, there are others that have come around. I can't think of them, but Shure is a Rode, R-H-O-D-E. Rode, tremendous, known for supplying rock musicians. And then there is another company called Countryman, which is a completely different type of mic, and I just don't think it's worth spending the kind of money that they cost. They're excellent mics. They're used for professional theater and so forth, but I honestly don't think that you need them. I also want to show you that if you use your phone, if you are using your device, you can just plug in your headset. Your headset, I keep one put aside for when I'm working with clients. If I'm using my device, That doesn't get filthy dirty. These get so dirty and they get kind of disgusting and I can't stand it. So I keep this one aside in a plastic bag in my supply cabinet so that it stays nice and clean and doesn't look terrible, but it works great. They work great. So I also have my AirPods, which also work if you're using your device. So those are things that work. Of course, these will eventually run out of battery life. These will not. Your phone may run out, but you can have that plugged in. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that those were available. Okay. All right, let's keep going here. Let's talk about lights. All right. Now I mentioned before that I had an artificial light on me. And that is even though I have a very bright room here. This room has a wall of north windows that sheds this, and it's not obstructed in any way. And it's got a window over there and a window over there. And so I've got plenty of light. And I usually don't turn on the artificial lights when I'm working with clients remotely by video conference. But for today, I wanted to show you what it looked like, and I'm going to share some lighting ideas with you. So when I say video eats light for dinner, it's unbelievable what the amount of light that you need for it to actually make a difference. So using what's available, we already talked about daylight. That's the best light. By the way, if you have sunlight coming in through your window, direct sunlight is probably not going to cast the best light on you. It should be a diffused light or filtered light. So just an FYI on that. If you're outside, same deal. And you certainly don't want to be standing outside shooting a video at 12 noon, right? At high noon with the sun right over your head, casting these shadows that are very unflattering, but also distracting. That's the most important thing to note. Now, I mentioned that you have a lot of equipment already, and that is true with lights as well. So you already have lamps and lights around your home, if you're working at home or wherever it is you're working from, that you can use. All you have to do is take the shades off and turn those lights up to the highest amount. So if they are adjustable, if they're on three levels of lighting, 3 levels of, I forget what the brightness, right? Just turn them up to the highest brightness and put them on either side of you. So I have a lamp right over here on my desk. It's not on, I don't need it. But if you've got a couple of table lamps that you can use for your video conferences and just put one over here and one over here, and then turn them up, take the shades off and turn them up, that will be just fine. You don't have to go out and buy anything new. I also want to tell you another place you can go to B&H to get those. You can look online at Amazon to get all kinds of artificial lighting. And you can also go to a place called Cowboy Studio, which is where I've gotten my artificial lights. And they are located in Dallas, but they are cowboystudio.com. But let me tell you a little bit about the other equipment that I have, okay? So you see this light on the left, that light is a ring light, okay? So a ring light is what I'm using right now. It casts a very bright and flattering light on me. And so I think that's all I'm using. Originally, before ring lights were popular, I had these box light, what they call soft boxes. I still have them, but I'm not using them today. I just don't need them. A ring light is great. You can get them very inexpensively. I think I paid $180 for my ring light, but they are much less expensive now. I think you can get them for under $100. In fact, on the right, you see that image of the that little gadget where there's that model on the phone, and then there are all those 2 ring lights. I just ordered that. I'll let you know how that is. I'd never seen that before, but that's something that you can use if you are doing video conferences using your phone. Then you've got an automatic light, and I believe it's USB, and you can see the little image of the remote, so it must come with a remote. So you know, I haven't tried it, but it looked interesting. It was less than $25. So that's something to know. I thought, okay, this is worth the investment. If I don't like it, I'll return it. I got it on Amazon. And I can't, if you want to know what the brand is, let me know, or let Nancy know, and I will make sure to get that to you at another time. I don't remember what the brand is for that. That little contraption in the middle is a laptop elevator. It raises the laptop up so that you are not, you're not looking down into your camera, and you're not having to look up. I'm going to show you in a minute why I have that. That is what my laptop is currently sitting on. Obviously, you're not going to be able to use that for a desktop, but what ends up happening, and I'll show you in a minute, is that if we are too low, then you can see the floor. If the webcam is positioned tilted down, so your laptop cover is tilted downward, including that webcam, you're going to be looking at the floor. And if it's tilted too far back, then it shows the ceiling. It's just not a good way. What you should be doing is looking straight in. We're going to get to that in much more detail in a minute. But I want to show you right now is an image that one of the reasons that you want good light is that you want that sparkle in your eyes. You know, our eyes reflect light. And you can see the difference in the image on the left, where the light has been retouched out of this person's eyes. And as a result, it's just not as appealing looking. And in fact, in Hollywood, in movies, they will often take the sparkle out of the villain's eyes so that they look more villainous than, than we hope they are. Okay, so we're going to come back later. Right now, I want to show you a little bit more about why I use that, laptop booster. These are two images of what I was talking about. So most of us, of course, don't have the laptop booster, right? We don't have that thing that raises it up. And so if the laptop is just sitting on your desk, on your table, it's going to be, the top is going to be pushed back, which again, on the left is going to give you the image of the ceiling. And by the way, this is another thing that happens. So I'm giving you the image of the ceiling. You see how low my head is in the, you see how low it is? Yeah, so it's low in the video, in the image. And of course, if I do it this way, you're going to see the baseboard heating and other things that are perhaps on the floor, and my head is cut off. So we're going to talk in a moment about why it's important to do that. But the name of the market leader in this type of laptop booster is called Roost, R-O-O-S-T. Roost wants a lot of money for their boosters, and I found other clones of it for, oh gosh, probably a third of the price. They want about $70 for their boosters. They're just plastic. This one has 3 levels. I looked just yesterday to see what was available. There are similar, if not identical, laptop holders and boosters for a price of $20, 25, somewhere in there. And they have even more levels. So as I said, mine has 3. That's been fine for me. I have no reason or no need to go out and replace it, but it's really just plastic. It's very light. It comes in, it's tiny. You can throw it in a suitcase. If you've got to go somewhere, I know we're not going anywhere. We're sheltering in place, which is important, I think. But I'm just telling you, if you take your laptop, you hold your meeting outside, you want to be someplace where there's some fresh air, a lot of this is going to be helpful for you. So that is one thing I want you to know. So I want you to take a look at my setup for today, and that's what it looks like. So I'm sitting there. You see I've got my Audio-Technica mic, my computer that's sitting on my laptop elevator, the booster, and my ring light and my desk lamp that's sitting there also. So that is exactly where I am right now. And behind me, of course, is Art. We'll talk about backgrounds in a minute. By the way, I am just going to make sure that I keep a track of time. So just wanted to check on that because I don't want to keep you late and we've got a lot to cover. Okay, so that's exactly what you're looking at, is only I'm in the chair. Okay, that is the difference. So now I want to show you one more thing. Let's say you need, oh, I do want to say this. If you don't have that booster right now, many of you don't. You can probably get it in a couple of days if you order one online. But let's say you have a meeting this afternoon. You want your laptop to be raised. Put it on a stack of books. You've got a bunch of coffee table books. Many of you are working from home. Use those. Use some discarded magazines, whatever, a box. Make sure the box is sturdy enough to use. Just anything that will help you elevate it for the time being. Again, we'll go into some detail as to why it's important to do that. If you are using your tablet or your phone, you also want to be able to hold it. So I'm going to show you my phone here. So this is my phone, of course. So of course, you know, do you want to be standing there holding your phone, talking into your phone like this the whole time? You know, your arm could get pretty tired. So it'd be good to have some kind of a stand. And not, I don't have one myself right now to show you. I'm going to show you an image in a moment of the setup I do use, but they have all of these things that will clip onto a table, that will stand on a table with adjustable arms, those kind of gooseneck arms that you can bend and adjust that will hold your phone. So that is something to note. Let me show you another, what I do. I have this device. This is one of these little adjustable tripods that I can clip onto pretty much anything. And then on it, I've screwed this adapter. I got this years ago because I've been doing this a long time and I needed this stuff. And this expands. Now, interestingly enough, I can't remember what the brand is, but you can find them. They're much better now, and they will accommodate the larger phones. My phone is a 7. It's still kind of small, so I don't need anything bigger, but this one barely opens to a size to accommodate my iPhone 7. So I wanted to show you what I do if I'm using my phone. I just put it right there onto the computer, and yeah, it works. It all works. So that's that. All right, let's see what we have coming up here. So, oh yes, I wanted to tell you why it's so important. I want you to start thinking when you see yourself on video, that as you frame it, that you think in thirds. So when we look at a widescreen, mentally divide it into thirds, as I've done in this image that I created, and that your eye level, your approximate eye level, should be in the upper third. All right, it's not exact, but again, we don't want it like this, and we don't want it like this. We don't want your head cut off. Now, the reason for this is that it's become the standard. We've been watching news, and gosh, oh my gosh, we're going to be watching a lot more news, sadly, in the coming weeks and who knows how long. But because of the standards that news and talking heads have established, anything that is different than that is a distraction. So when you're having meetings, whether it's with me, whether it's with your team, your leadership, you're doing a training session and you're seated, you want that your eyes to be, just like mine are right now, in approximately the upper third. So I can raise my seat and you can see my head gets a bit cut off. Just lowering my seat slightly helps. So that's something else to keep in mind. Otherwise, again, it becomes a bit of a distraction, and the last thing we need is for people in this current environment to be even more distracted than they already are. Wouldn't you agree? So yeah, here's an old video that I shot, and I remember somebody emailed me. I put it on YouTube, and somebody emailed me, your head's cut off. And I thought, well, yeah, you know, it was good enough. I sent it out, but you see the problem. Okay, let's keep going here. Let me show you some examples of what can happen if you don't have if certain things go wrong. So this person had purple drapes, and so she came out pink. She looked pink. She was blonde, and her skin was just very pink. So you see what can happen. This person was sitting too far back when I was interviewing her. So you want to sit a bit closer, again, talking head. Just do the best you can with all of that. Okay, moving on. I am going to take a sip of water because when I'm talking, my voice gets tired. Okay, we're going to keep going here. So here is the truth. We're moving now into how you present yourself on camera. I've covered a little bit about that, but let's get into some detail. Everyone hates the way they look on video. Everyone, even my Oscar-winning clients. It never fails when I video them, when we're together and we're working together on media training, that when I video them, their eyes roll, they become faint, they get pale, and you know, they ask me if I'm planning to send that to the studio. And the answer is no, I'm not planning to send it to the studio. It's just for their use. It's only for them to see how they look on camera, because interestingly enough, even they, you know, don't see themselves as other people see them. So I will tell you, you know how hard it is to hear your voice on a voicemail or recorded or played back. It is 100 times more painful to see yourself on camera, right? And there are reasons for that. When we look in the mirror, we're seeing a mirror image, and we're very accustomed, our brain has already corrected for all of the flaws and asymmetries that we see on our face. So, you know, my mole is on the wrong side, and my smile is crooked, and, you know, whatever, my hair is parted on the wrong side, I parted on the middle today, just to kind of give myself a break. But we want to make sure that as you are seeing yourself in a mirror, that's a completely different thing than seeing yourself on camera. So you can look in a mirror, right, in the morning, and you get dressed, you comb your hair, you do all your grooming, whatever it is you do, you get ready to go out. Not these days, but you know what I mean, right? And then if somebody puts a video camera on you, you look exactly the same, exactly what you saw in the mirror, and it's like, oh God, cannot stand the way I look. So here's the thing, you get used to it. Your eye learns to correct for this, and ultimately it doesn't bother you anymore. But this cannot happen unless you do it. It can't happen unless you do it. So the more you do video, the more used to it you will get, and the better you will get. So it isn't learned. Excuse me, it isn't inborn. It's learned, which I know is why you're here. All right, we're not just born able to do presentations and be able to be great on camera. It's artificial. It's artificial. So let's talk about exactly what it is that you need to know regarding your presentation on video. All right, we're all fluent in body language, and these are the most important body areas that work for video. So are your eyes, your face, your upper body, and your voice. That's it for what most of you are going to be doing when you're sitting in meetings and conducting meetings, or talking with clients, customers, or again, delivering trainings, because business is going to continue. We're just going to have to do it this way. Okay, so let's just talk about what you have to do. Even with video, you have got to project confidence, right? Even if you don't feel it. We're going to go through all of it. You should project an image that is somewhat warm and inviting. That's my goal always. Got to get work done. And it's weird to have to do it this way, but it's better than nothing. You know, if this had happened 10 years ago, I just can't even imagine. We'd really be in trouble. It would be much harder. Over the years I've been doing video, I've trademarked the term video charisma in 2015, but I'd been doing video since 2009. I remember, and its platforms in those days were so unreliable. They're much better now, much better. Okay, so what we're talking about for these is really from the waist up. Here you see it's really from the lower chest up, right? And if I sit back, if I'm back a little bit, and I can't move any further back than I currently am, you can see a little more of me. But in general, it's going to be this kind of a position, talking head look. So let's talk about a few of these. Well, we'll end up talking about all of them. But you see how I'm sitting? Maybe you can't see how I'm sitting up pretty straight. I'm on the edge of my chair. My feet are on the ground. My chair isn't raised so high that I can't touch the ground. I'm going to turn around for a minute. You're going to see. This is how I'm sitting, like this, really forward, just like I would teach you if I were teaching you to be engaged in a meeting in person, in a conference room, as you were pitching something or having a conversation with your colleagues or your leadership or your clients or customers. So this is the way I sit. I am not sitting like this, I'm not sitting like this. I'm not sitting like this. I'm not looking disengaged. And I want you all to know that I'm here for you, that I'm interested. And so this is super important. It's no different than when you're sitting in a conference room. Again, I would coach you in the same exact way in terms of how you deliver a seated presentation. All right, so let's keep going with that. All right, so many of you who have been in my speeches, you've been attendees at my keynotes, or you've done coaching with me. You've seen this chart. Let me just explain to you what this means. The title is misleading, interestingly. So the visual, the vocal, and the verbal. The visual is how you look. The vocal is how you sound. The verbal is what you say. And what people inevitably say to me is that, my God, are you kidding? Like, verbal, what you say is only worth 7%. That is not what this means. What this means is that if the way you look, the visual and sound, the vocal contradicts what you say, the verbal, people will believe the way you look and sound instead of what you say. And that is just something that's the cardinal rule of speech communication, of oral communication, what we're doing here today, and what you all will be doing and are doing now that we're in this brave new world of video conferencing communication. All right, so of course, visual, everything about how you look, the way you dress, how you move, your eye communication, all of that. Vocal, your voice, it's your voice, and all of the things attached to that. Accent, dialect, volume, rate, diction, what else is there? Pace, and I know expression and tone. So all of those things are super important. And this does not mean what you say isn't important. It means that you've got to help people along. And let me tell you something, not being in person, doing it this way, put some extra burdens on all of us in terms of communicating in an expression-full and engaged way. We have to be as compelling as possible, and it is exhausting. So let's take one of these, let's take eyes. So eyes communicate a lot. Here's something that I'm doing today. I am looking into the lens. So you have to find out where the lens is. And on laptops and usually on desktops, it's obvious because there's a little light that lights up. My light, I'm using a Mac, it's green. So I know to look into there. Now, the thing about that lens is that it's inanimate. It does not react. It doesn't give you feedback. It doesn't laugh at your jokes. It doesn't tell you you're doing okay. It doesn't shake its head, none of it. It's just there. So you've got to start thinking about, maybe if you're new at this, I'm pretty good at it. I don't need to think about the same things that you might need to. You've got to imagine that there's somebody behind that lens on the other side, your watcher, your viewer, your audience, whom you like. Some people even take time and put a funny cartoon next to the lens, or some kind of an image of where they can look at that image and feel all warm and fuzzy and happy and, like in a good mood. So that is a trick that some people use. So you've got to pretend that that camera is a human and preferably a human that you like. And that takes practice. Or make yourself feel good, right? So it's inanimate, as I said. So I always think it's either a close friend or it's a close friend or a loved one, somebody who's funny, a teammate, somebody you like. Many of you, by the way, will be delivering video conferences where you've got other people in the conference so you can see them. Their videos will not be muted like they are here for this webinar, but it's hugely, and that helps so much. But sometimes you're just going to be the one that's talking. You still have to be engaged. You still have to be engaged. Also, the great thing about video conferencing, of course, if somebody's on their phone, you can tell, right? They're busy typing away or thumbing away. They're not looking at you. You know who they are. So you can't escape. All right, let's keep moving here. I mentioned this earlier. Let's skip through that. Be facially expressive. There are some people who just habitually speak with very little facial expression. I don't know about you, but I cannot get any kind of expressiveness into my voice or into my eyes if my face is just, dead. It's just calm. So you've got to move your brow, your cheeks, Oh, and let's talk about close-ups. Let's talk about the video webcams. They are a type of fisheye lens. That it's awful, which means if I put my hand really close, my hand is now about 8 inches away. Look how huge it is, right? It's huge. And so that's what it does. It magnifies the closer you are. So I'm going to move my head closer. I'm going to try to get really close here. All right. So yeah, so it just looks weird. My nose is closer than the rest of me. So of course the nose is prominent and it, fills out my face. So, I'm sitting about 2 feet back right now from the lens, and I'm looking right into the lens. So you think I'm looking at you. I know you're there, and it helps, it works. So in terms of close-up, there are magnification issues with webcams, and they just haven't figured that out yet. By the way, I didn't mention how hard it is to find the lens on a device. It doesn't light up when I'm doing a video on my iPhone. It doesn't light up. Nope. So you've got to remember where that lens is and look into that. So if you're holding it this way, which by the way, this is the way you should hold it if you're doing video. And the reason for that is that this is the wide screen. Have you seen videos where you see that they're shot vertically and they've got those 2 wide bars on either side? So if you're looking to get good video with your devices, both your phones and your tablets, hold them horizontally. Yeah, all of the apps are designed to shoot video in either way, in either of those formats. But remember, on those devices too, you have to actually look and remember where the lens is. So if you're holding it like this, my lens would be here. If I'm holding it, if I turn it over, then the lens is here. But it's not here at the button. I often make that mistake, and then I look at the video that I shot, and it's like, oh God, I wasn't even looking into the lens. One other thing, I just slipped my mind. Let's see here if I have it in my notes. Nope, don't have that here. I think that we've got that covered. If it comes back to me, I'll mention it. Let's come back. Let's move on, I should say. And then any questions that you have, of course, I will take at the end. And let's see, how are we doing on time? Good, we're doing great on time. Voice is second only to your eyes when it comes to video and of course, audio. So you want your tone to be warm and inviting. You want your expression to be, we call this in my field vocal variety. So you don't want it to be the corporate monotone, which is very common in business these days. I'm doing it right now. It's kind of like when my face gets dead and my voice also gets dead. And this is I call it a speech virus. And it started, I think, on Wall Street about 10 years ago. It was about sounding hushed and serious, but what it really sounds like is boring. It's really just boring. We have the ability to be vocally expressive, and it's super important to use, especially when you are when you're on video or using a microphone or on the phone. So if you're doing webinars, for example, where you're not on camera, so I'm doing this webinar and I'm on camera, I advise that. You know, it's so weird. I signed up for this webinar this morning by a speech coach who was talking about something other than this, of course. And he did this webinar, but he personally was not on camera. He was a speech coach. I thought, why aren't you on camera? It would have been so much more engaging. And it is. All right, let's not forget that video is certainly not going to take the place of face-to-face and in person. It's not. I'm sorry. It's just not. It is the next best thing. It's all we got right now. It's all we got. All right, expression, we talked about that, no corporate monotone. A project, I'm sitting in my office. I've got my mic right here, as you saw, and I don't have to speak loudly. I'm not trying to project to the back of the room where, where there's 100 rows in the room, or, where there are 5,000 people on in a big room during a keynote. No, I'm not. I am simply giving you my very best. I'm trying to persuade you. I'm trying to persuade you. I want you to hear me. I want you to listen to me. I want you to do what I tell you to do. And because of that, I have a level of power and energy in my voice that I don't have on my regular. This is my regular voice that I speak to my kids with, that I speak to, to friends and colleagues and family with when it's very informal. But I'm working now. And every time you open your mouth to be on video, to say something on a video conference or a teleconference, you are using your voice in a professional setting. You got to turn it on like a spigot. And again, the more you do it, the more, and by the way, you've got to watch yourself. The more you do it and the more you play it back, as much as you may hate it, the better you will become. So project power and energy, not volume. All right, rate and pace, moderate. We all speak at about between 120 to 140 words per minute, depending on where you're from. And you want your diction to be crisp. So don't mumble, don't garble your words. All of that will help people stick around and stay engaged. And most importantly, understand what it is you need and do what you need them to do. So super important. Okay, let's keep moving through this. Got a few more slides here. Oh, we're gonna talk more about body language, okay? So hand gestures, what do you do on camera? Now, when I'm coaching people to do live presentations, you're on a platform or you're in a room, hand gestures it's very different. When you're in a box like we are right now, it's contained, it's a TV. So I put my hands out like this, and of course my arms are cut off. So you do want to keep your hands contained. Again, if you put them too close, they grow, they magnify, but I would keep them down. Certainly if they show up at the bottom of your screen a little bit, that's absolutely fine. Hands help us think. And the reason that the researchers know this, and this is the kind of thing that floats my boat, is that blind people gesture and deaf people gesture in addition to signing, okay? It helps you think, and it also helps your listeners learn, again. So if they're going to get your information, they're going to take the task that you assign them, or if you're doing a pitch, you're talking with a client and you want them to buy something from you, or you want to show them a better way to get them to think about it, this is a way to do that. I talked to you about posture earlier. It should be engaged. Moving your head. I move my head, but you don't want to move it too much. I think I'm guilty actually of moving it too much, but again, active, natural, you don't want to be too distracting. I want to say one thing about dress and adornment. I usually spend a lot of time on that, but not today because most of you know how to dress. But for video, you want to wear things that work against your background. And I'll talk to you about background in just a moment. So I'm wearing I'm casual. Most of us are going to be casual, working from home, but I'm not sloppy, right? I'm not wearing pajamas. I mean, I could be on the bottoms, you don't know. but I'm not. I'm not today, but I could be. So I want you to be mindful of that. Now, for some people, if you're in a professional setting and you dress in a certain way, even if it's casual, but professional, you feel more professional. I know that's true for me. Not everybody needs that, but certainly from the waist up, you don't want to look sloppy, because that communicates. We see this constantly. People who are so smart, so competent, they are subject matter experts, and they walk into a room and they have outfits that don't fit right, or whatever they're wearing. I mean, honestly, they don't think it's important, but it's super important. They don't call it a power suit for nothing. I'm not saying you have to wear a suit. We're not even saying you have to wear a tie if you're a man, or women, obviously similar without the tie, but just a sweater, colors that pop against the background. And let's talk about background very briefly. This is a picture, sorry for the blur, 2009, my very first video, a still from my very first video. I leave it up on YouTube so people can see how terrible I was. Go to my YouTube channel. Check it out. I'm talking about being a speech coach to CEOs and to the stars, to the Hollywood stars. And look at my background. It looked like it was the most. Somebody actually emailed me and said, "Your bookshelves are sagging." And it's like, yeah. And one of my friends said, "Yeah, you should be glad you didn't say anything else was sagging." Anyway, I've shared this with you because your background matters. Make it neutral. You can see in my background, I have some art, but it's pretty neutral. Other than that, not distracting. I think I mentioned earlier, if you were here on time, that you might have to move some furniture around. Before I had this office, I'd have to just position a table or something in front of a window in a room with very few distractions in the background. Just put some art on the walls, a stack of books, a bouquet of flowers. All of those things make a difference. They can really just pump it up. Your logo, I've got my book in the background, Secrets, so a little bit of advertising doesn't hurt, but basically neutral, not distracting. By the way, we call all the distractions that I've been talking about, we call it noise. Last thing you want in a video conference is noise. All right, we're going to move on to my final, is it my final slide here? Yeah, no, almost, next to last slide. Okay, so let's talk briefly about platforms. So we've got a few that are common. Many of you have done WebEx or GoToMeeting. Some of you are now using Microsoft Teams, which is that purple logo. All of you who have iPhones have FaceTime. iPhones and tablets, iPads have FaceTime. I don't know what's available on the non-Apple iOS or operating system, whatever it's called. But there you've got it. Of course, there's Skype too, which is one of the originals. So let me tell you what I know about all of these. And I don't know something about some of them. I don't know anything about one of them, actually. So Cisco, WebEx, and GoToMeetings are some of the old standbys. A lot of corporations have contracts with the companies and use them exclusively. And if you are forced to use them, I'm sorry. And I mean that because they're overly complex. They are certainly not video conferencing software that I would opt for personally, and I have always found them very frustrating. And I'm pretty good technology-wise. The other thing is, of course, Skype, one of the originals. I haven't used Skype in a long time. I used to use it quite a lot. You saw some of those side-by-side videos. Those were all done with Skype. Skype has improved, but I haven't gone back to it because Zoom came along, which is what we're using today. Zoom is a wonderful platform. I do not get a commission. Everything that I'm promoting to you to use is because I have found it to be tremendous. It is user-friendly. It is easy. This customer service is good. It's reliable. It records. I don't know what else to tell you about it. It's really pretty amazing when we think about it. So Zoom is what I use. I highly recommend it. You may not have a choice, as I said, for some of your company meetings. However, if you're talking with a customer or client and you are looking for a reliable platform that works beautifully, just download Zoom. There's a free version. It allows you to record up to 40 minutes. And that might be a blessing, right? That you can cut it short after 40 minutes. So I highly recommend Zoom, FaceTime, and by the way, you can record it. I did mention that, I think. FaceTime, without an add-on, you can't record. By the way, that was true of Skype too. You needed an add-on. It was an inexpensive add-on, but it was an add-on nonetheless. So, you know, Zoom, it's complete. It comes with it. Microsoft Teams is the only one I'm not familiar with, but a lot of people are using this now. Adobe Connect is another one that I've used. I don't know Microsoft Teams. I've used Adobe Connect. I'm also not crazy about it. These three, WebEx, GoToMeeting, and Adobe Connect, I feel are overly complicated and not for people who are, you know, not engineers, frankly, or don't have IT departments to help out with it. All right, we're going to move to questions in just a moment, but before I do that, oh, by the way, I have also got, did I mention that I'm not using Wi-Fi right now? I'm using Ethernet. I have this, in other words, I'm hardwired, because even with Wi-Fi and connections being quite reliable these days, Ethernet hardwiring is more reliable. You are coming out of an office where I'm sure you had very strong connections. Everything was hardwired and plugged in, and now you don't. You're using your home connection. So unless you've got something super, you know, strong, where the bandwidth is strong, video kills bandwidth. It uses so much of it. So I have mine hardwired. I actually had my electrician put a couple of Ethernet outlets into my home, and there's certainly one here in the office. So I'm going to move now. I'm so glad that you showed up. For everybody who showed up today, I have a gift for attending. That it's a bonus. It's a video content workbook. I'm going to be sending that out tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, right? Sending it out tomorrow for anybody who wants it. And, or not to anybody who wants it, all of you who attended. You'll all be getting that, a download on that. So look for that tomorrow. What else can I tell you? There'll also be a recording of this. So I want you to have that. There'll be a recording also going out. That will take a while to process. All of these video conferencing software programs are now very delayed in processing the videos. So that becomes a bit of a difficulty. So I am so glad that you could come. We are at, let's see, what time is it? Okay, we're almost at the top of the hour. I want to leave time for questions. As I said, I'm going to take myself, I'm going to stop sharing. And so I'm back. And let's see, what questions do you have? And by the way, I just want you to know that I'll stick around for questions if you want them. So let's see what we've got here. All right, let's see. Am I recording this? Okay, yep, definitely recording. Under what circumstances do you need to use a headphone when on Zoom? I've never worn them and I've not had a problem yet, but I see others wearing them. Yeah, well, if you haven't had a problem, then don't bother. You know, I use microphones. Oh, you know what? It had to do, if you're doing a video conference, what happens, of course, is if you're on your computer, there is sound coming through the speakers on the computer. And if you have an external mic, some people think that the mic picks up that external sound, and there's some feedback issues. I haven't found that to be a problem in a really long time. So I think they fixed it. They've somehow fixed it. So I used to put this in there. I used to plug in my headset just so I could hear it through my headset instead of through the speakers on the webcam on the computer, but I don't do it anymore, and I haven't done it in a really long time. And I've had a lot of video conferences in the last couple of years. Let me see what I do. So what I would do, if you're using it, just put in your right one. It'll come through, and also here's your mic. Okay, just want to show you that. Okay. Please send the name of the cell phone lamps holder. Okay, we'll do that. Maisie. Hey, Maisie. To raise my laptop, I use a plastic file holder turned on its side. Great. If that works, if it gets it to the level that you need it, no need to buy something new. If you don't have the laptop booster, how should we tip our laptop screen? Judy, hey, I think I explained it. I hope you were here for it. Just put it on a box or a stack of books. Bring some from home if you're going into your office, or if you're not, just find something, a box, as I said, a stack of books, something to lift it. But I would absolutely recommend just getting one. They're so inexpensive, and it's been a gift. I have a free Zoom account and done one-on-one calls for over an hour for free. Well, maybe you're special, Ruth. Ruth asked that question. Another Ruth. I'm glad there's another Ruth on this call. Ruths are very rare. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe so. I'm glad. Teams has taken the place of Skype. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jessica. Hey. You use both. Okay, so Jessica says, taking the place of Skype, which is being retired. Teams is great for team collaboration and video conference, but for training, presentations or client calls, I recommend Zoom. Okay, that's good to know. That's great to know. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, so many nuggets. Jennifer Abernethy, thanks for coming. Ruth, how would you deliver a dramatic story on video that you're used to giving with moving around on stage and getting a tad theatrical? Yeah, it limits you, right? So it's really in the eyes, right? It's like in the eyes. So the eyes have it there. And I would keep my voice a bit sotto voce. So maybe using your voice in a projecting way, like I'm using it now, and then maybe also getting a little closer to the microphone and just quieting it down for a moment. Just like this. This is what I actually do on stage anyway, with a microphone. So there. Robin, okay, great. Yep. Okay, Karen, I've heard you shouldn't mix natural and artificial lighting. I am not an expert on this, Karen. To be honest, I heard that too, but I've got plenty of daylight in this room and a fluorescent ring light right in front of you. I think it works fine. We're just trying to get through this here. And so I think that you can do it just fine with both. Do I have the name of the stand for the laptop? I don't have it handy, Lorraine, but if you go to Amazon and you look for a laptop stand called Roost, R-O-O-S-T, that retails at about $70 or so. And then you look at other suggestions, you'll see the identical one for $25 or so. Okay, so that's what I would suggest. Stacy, hey, okay, let's see. I'm glad. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Plastic file holder. Office Depot. Okay. All right. Let's see here. How do you tip the monitor? Well, you can tip the monitor. It's your laptop, Judy, would be able to tip it back and forward, right? Like as you close it, and then you tip it back to open it wider. So I'm not sure what you're asking there. If you're talking about a desktop, those are harder. Those are harder to tip. Laptops are the way to go, or your device. Let's see. Okay. Griffin makes a laptop stand for Apple. Stylish as to be expected. When you use your Zoom account, how do you make sure no one logs on while you're talking to another person? Using a password. I've never used a password. This is a great question. One of the things that I learned earlier today from Zoom was that this is a meeting, which means everybody has the ability to unmute their camera and mic, which creates a problem when we've got 60, 70 people on a call, right? I mean, that could be just noisy. Now I have Nancy here who's been able to help and mute all of you, but you can even set it up so that people are muted upon arrival. However, I discovered earlier today that I could have upgraded to webinars, and it's more expensive. It's a more expensive subscription than the one that I currently have, but I will think, considering the number we sold out today, I couldn't let other people in. I was limited. So considering going forward, what we may do, in terms of webinars, I probably would upgrade the next time, just so I don't have to worry about it. In webinars, you can keep everybody muted. There's no question of it. There are more options. I think that's what my main issue. Have I ever used BombBomb? Nope, I haven't, but I'd be interested in knowing more. Jessica, each Zoom meeting has a specific ID, so you shouldn't get another person logging into an ongoing meeting. Thanks for clarifying, Jessica. Exactly. So this is a unique login, and no outsider can just join. I could have set up a password and you would have had to enter a meeting ID, but I find that to be very cumbersome, and it doesn't worry me at this point, to be honest with you. Eyeglasses versus contacts. Only anti-glare. Anti-glare glasses. I wear my glasses from time to time, and they are anti-glare. So that's my ring light is fluorescent. Mine is fluorescent. Yep. Fluorescent light doesn't go well with my skin tones. Are there LED or incandescent? I don't know. You can check it out. There are definitely LED lights, by the way, that you can buy, and they're small too, that you can go to B&H. Definitely recommend them to check out what's available. They're small. You can put them away in a closet. Mine are, on stands. They're standing in another room. Yep. And Melissa says, Zoom offers a unique meeting ID or your personal meeting room ID. Always choose the unique meeting ID because it's different every time. Yes. Yep. Agree, Melissa. Thanks for clarifying that. Anybody who is still on the call, please let me know what else you'd like to learn more about. I'd like to do more. I'd like to give you more going forward. What else are you doing? Where are you having problems? Where, this brave new world of video communication where we can't get together face to face. Yeah, put something in there. Or email me or email Nancy, Ruth@ruthsherman.com, Nancy@ruthsherman.com, and we'll try to put some more of these types of webinars together. And by the way, I asked you if you had any questions earlier. You probably don't remember the way I asked that, but I said, what questions do you have? That's the way you should always ask for questions. It's a frame. In other words, instead of saying, oh, any questions or, questions, you say, what questions do you have? Which gives people permission. So they say think something like, oh yeah, questions are good. I should have questions. I do have a question. I'm going to ask it. So use that. Rachel, check for adjustable lights where you can change the warmth of your lights. That might help with skin tones and also with mixing in natural lights. It's good to have people with other expertise on the call. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it. Saba Centra for training in Zoom. This is from Karen again. I miss the emoticons everyone can use, and yes, no checks and whiteboarding. Yes, it is. All of that is available in Zoom. I don't know about emoticons. I don't personally use them. Whiteboarding, definitely. You saw that I could share the screen. I can also share videos, so I can play videos for people. Gosh, annotations you can draw. So I find it to be terrific. And there are several levels of Zoom. I'm using the Pro version. It's the lowest subscription, paid subscription and I have found it to be fine, but going forward, I may have to upgrade, as I mentioned earlier, to include webinars. So you can have up to 10,000 people on a webinar. So we'll see. How can we get my book, my Secrets book? Oh, you can, ask Amazon for that. Amazon has my book. So thank you for asking, Maisie. And if you're asking about the bonus book, video content workbook, I'll be sending that over tomorrow, along with a link to the recording, provided what's the word I'm looking for? It processes by then. They've been pretty delayed. Usually they process in about an hour now. all bets are off. Thank you all for coming. I so appreciate your time today. It's been a wonderful experience for me. Good to connect. And this is a wonderful way to connect. Thank you for coming. The name of my book is Speakrets. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to show it to you, actually. Here it is, Speakrets, the 30 best, you can see the ring light in the background, the 30 best, most effective, most overlooked marketing and personal branding essentials by me. So there it is. Yes, you're welcome. I see there's another question that came in. Let me just look here. When talking about dressing for the camera, did you talk about color tones? Anything that goes with your skin, things that pop, no tight patterns, no tight plaids, no tight stripes. You'll always use solid. Your best bet is to look at what broadcasters are doing and see what they're wearing. They are almost always wearing solid colors, almost always. Okay, so super important, super important. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to see whether the hat, if it's a problem. I don't know. What you want to do is you got to be consistent with your brand. You know, a hat isn't consistent with my brand, but it might be consistent with yours. So, you know, if that's the case, if that's what people are used to seeing you, how seeing you wear, then absolutely, Ruth, totally, yeah. And a leopard, you know, I mean, Nancy was wearing a leopard. I don't know if those of you who are at the beginning, Nancy was on camera. Here, she's back. Nancy, thank you. She's wearing leopard. I think she looks great. What do you think? Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Nancy. She's great. Okay, thank you so much again. All right, we're gonna log off here. You can always, you know, hit me up. I'm on social, Instagram, follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back, all right? And LinkedIn, let's connect on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. All right, thank you so much for coming, and be on the lookout for the book, the ebook and the recording coming tomorrow. All right, have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay safe. Listen to the experts, no one else, not even me. Bye.